Hi everyone, welcome to the cross stitch flat fold finishing tutorial. My name is Allison, the channel is Mrs. AZ Family Zoo Stitches. We're going to jump right in and get started. You're going to learn two finishes today. First is this one, and the next we'll be finishing this piece together. Let's go over our materials. Today I'll be finishing the Gobble Gobble cross stitch. This is by Stitching with the Housewives. The stitching finishes at 4 inches square. I've trimmed my piece to 7.5 inches. One extra step I've done with this because this is on chalkboard black 14 count Aida, and when you place it over sticky border batting you'll see a little bit of white through here. So I put a piece of black fabric on the back. I adhered that with 505 spray. You don't need to do that. That's just my preference. I didn't want the white to show through. You'll need 4 pieces of sticky board. I've cut mine at 5.5 inches. What that means is my piece is 4 inches, so 5.5 inches. It'll show a little bit of the black Aida on the sides. If you have a piece that has a real pretty fabric or a dyed fabric, you can always cut yours bigger. I have 4 pieces, and I'm going to show you 1, 2, 3. When I went to cut the 4th one, I did not have a piece big enough. I save my pieces of sticky board, put 2 next to each other. I tape them together. I have some of this white label tape. And any kind of tape will be fine because we're going to put stuff over this and wrap it around the back. No one's going to see the back. So save your little pieces. You might need them someday. You'll need 2 pieces of batting the same size as your cut squares. Since my squares are 5.5 inches, my batting is cut at 5.5 inches. We're going to need a couple different pieces of fabric. I'm using the Priscilla's Pretty Plaids by Henry Glass. I have 1 piece here. The biggest piece is 7.5 by 10.5, and you'll see why it's bigger later. 2 pieces at 7.5 inches square. Sorry, little lint there. And 1 piece, it's 4 by 6. I'll show you right now what I've done with it. You'll fold it in half and iron it, and then bring in the edges to the center and iron it. And it's going to end up like this. This is going to be your tab that's underneath. And when we go to attach it, you can either put some glue here and glue it down, or you can stitch it on the sewing machine. So we'll do that when we get to that part. I'm also going to be using some Fabric Fusion glue by Eileen's. Off camera is my glue gun and my little silicone finger protector so I don't burn my hands. I've got some chenille yarn for trim. I have some of these double-sided acid-free cross-stitch finishing dots. They don't make the small ones anymore. They make bigger ones. Either side will work fine. If you don't have these, I'm also using cross-stitch finishing tape. You can trim pieces of the cross-stitch finishing tape. If you don't want to work with the tape, you can do the entire thing with your glue gun. We're going to start with 2 pieces of our sticky board and our batting squares. My dogs are back in the corner of the room. One of them is snoring. I apologize if you hear that. The difference between the stitch finish we're going to do today for this one and this one is 1 piece of sticky board. See how this has 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5? Instead of having the 5th piece, we're going to be putting our stitch piece directly onto this piece. So that's a design preference, however you want to finish it. If you prefer seeing some of your fabric, go ahead and cut a 5th piece of sticky board that's going to be slightly smaller than the the background sticky board. I'm going to use this one for one of the batting pieces. So the batting's going to go on here, and I'm going to put it on the back. Nobody will ever see it. I'm standing over here if you haven't figured it out. That way I can get a good overhead view. Let's go ahead and peel the sticky and put our batting on. Just stick it right there on top. There's one. And two. Time to move on to the next step. Everything folded around. You can see the corners are a little square looking. What you can do is just press them. I'm not too worried about it because I'm going to be putting some trim around this piece. So no worries there. And let's have a look. Straight enough for me. If you're not happy with it, if it looks a little crooked, you can peel everything off and restick it. I'm going to go ahead and go with this. I'm going to set that one aside. Let's go to our next piece. Again, I'm working with a 5.5-inch square. Now I have a 7.5-inch square of fabric. When I trim the fabric, I try to be careful to make sure I cut straight on the pattern so the lines were nice and straight. I'm going to go ahead and flip that over. We're going to cover this with fabric. This is why I'm not concerned with what this looks like. Where this piece is going to go, it's going to be this back piece. So the batting side with the fabric will face out, and this side with the tape where I had to tape it together is going to be sandwiched against another piece, so it won't matter. I'm going to go ahead and line this up, just making sure, you know, I hit some points and I'm hitting the same area and that it looks straight. Again, you can do this the same way. You can do the folding and the folding with the tape, which is what I'm going to do. Or if you like, you can do a glue gun. Let's go ahead and get that taped. I'm going to go ahead and hand press that down. This piece, this is your back piece, and I'll show you on the other one that I have done. Your back piece, here's why the fabric's longer. It's going to go up and over, and it's going to be sandwiched here and hold the flat fold together. Let's go to the next step. Now we want to take our 2 remaining sticky board pieces and our 2 remaining piece of fabrics, and we're going to wrap each piece of sticky board. I did iron my fabric before I started to save time. This is going to be the same procedure as before. We're going to go ahead and peel the sticky. Now I have a fabric that has essentially grid lines. I want to try and line it up in the center and line it up straight with the lines. How about I do the glue gun for one as an example? There's a couple ways you can do this. We can glue gun it the same way I've been doing that, or we can just use a glue gun and do sides. So let's do that for these 2 pieces so we have an example of using the glue gun. That way if you don't want to use tape, you don't have to use tape. It's fairly straight. Let's have a look. Not quite centered. See how it's got a little bit of white? I think I'm going to leave it. If you've watched my floss tubes, you know that I'm not really hung up on perfection. These are handcrafts. They're supposed to be fun. They're going to be imperfect. Now if I wanted to, I could have unpeeled that and restuck it. You'll actually see I've got two on here. I found one was not sufficient for the heat of the glue gun. This is a Surebonder high temp glue gun. It's hot, really hot. This is definitely faster than doing the tape. Personal preference and time constraints. You know, whatever's easiest, whatever's you're more comfortable working with. And if you're in a hurry, definitely the glue gun. Okay. Just watch your fingers. And then watch when you bring down the side that's folded. Make sure it's folded nice. And we'll push this down. This will be sandwiched between something. So it doesn't have to be perfect on the back, but you do want to, like, you don't want this. You want to make sure you go ahead and take a minute and get all this glued down. Let's put a little glue in there. Try not to burn my finger. Whoop, keeps coming off. Let's go ahead and glue that down. Trying to make sure it doesn't pop out on the side. That'll be good. Got a little string here. Let's go ahead and cut that. I think on this side what I'm going to do is just take a moment, put just a little glue there, and glue that down, and just a little bit here. Just like the little tiniest bit, not even enough for it to really be hot. There we go. Now, when I bring it down, they won't pop out. I don't think any glue came out over here. Sorry. I have my glue gun on a heavy duty paper plate over there. It sort of flopped over. There you go. I'm going to go ahead and repeat the process and glue this one down. For this piece, what I did to hold these sides down, go ahead and put it on your board and then run a little bit over onto your fabric. Just a little bit. That's not that hot. There we go. That way, when you fold these over, everything's already folded down. I've checked both my boards. They look good. I don't see anything sticking out. I folded a couple corners and a couple of them I left as is. Then you've got your stitched piece, and you've got your piece with the flap here. You're going to need your tab. I showed this at the beginning. I'll go ahead and show this one more time. I went ahead and prepped it ahead of time. It's a 4x6 piece of fabric. Fold it in half and iron it. Bring in your edges and bring them together. Now, this open edge, you can run it on your sewing machine, stitch it. You can use a fabric fusion glue if you like. I've got my hot glue gun ready. I'm going to go ahead and glue this. I just want to keep it together so it looks nice. This is the bottom piece that's going to hold the two sides of the flat fold together. I wouldn't use tape for this. I don't think you'll get a good result. Glue's fine. Glue is what I did on this one as well. I can tell because there's no stitch line. So this one was also glued together. Go ahead and get these 3 pieces together. Your sticky board that had the batting that has the fabric flap. One of your plain fabric wrap boards. And this is the connector piece, or the tongue if you want to call it that, that's going to go on the bottom. Now you'll see why this tape won't matter. Just slide this up a bit so you can see what I'm doing. What I want to do is glue this to this piece. Maybe give it, I'm going to give it I think about 1 inch. Let me go ahead and get a ruler. You can do less if you like. You can adjust it too depending on the space. So if you know that this is going to be too big for the space where you're going to put it, you would want just to make it shorter. Just make sure it's long enough so your piece will stand up. Yeah, that's about 1 inch. That's fine for me. Now, I'm going to go ahead and face it toward me because I'm working sideways. This square is 5.5, which means the center is 2 3/4. Let me go ahead and grab a pen. Doesn't matter. We're going to slap something on, whoops, on top of that. I just want to go ahead and mark 2 3/4 on here so I know where to put my fabric piece. Then when I glue this on, the center of this piece will line up with that line. Okay, I'll turn it right side up for you. Go ahead and do that. I'll turn sideways here. Here we go. Set that like that. And the next step, got a couple of threads. Make sure you don't have any threads. Double check, make sure all your corners look nice and clean. No glue strings. This is going to go right here. When you glue this down, you want to make sure that you line up your sides. There we go. Check your corners. Make sure everything's lined up. I'm going to go ahead, put some glue on it around the edges, across the top, all over the middle. Make sure you've got it well covered. Probably should put some in my corners. Okay, I'm going to place this down. Don't burn your fingers, be careful. I'm going to set it lightly down. Make sure my corners look good. Yep. Press it down real good. A little bit of string. Let's go and get those strings out of there. That's what this piece looks like. There's your back with the batting. And your fabric covered piece, and then the piece that's going to hold it up in the center. The next step is to get your other piece of fabric wrapped sticky board. Put the pieces right side together. This piece here is this piece here on the inside. Set it down. And then pull over your fabric. You can see how far down the fabric goes. I'm going to go ahead and make a little line. That's going to help me figure out where the fabric flap is going to fold to, so I know where to put my glue. Before I bring this down, I've got these little flappy things. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that they're down and that they're secure. Just add a little bit of glue in there. Just like I did when I did the gluing on the other pieces. There. Now they'll be a little bit easier for me to work with. I'm going to place that there. I have my lines, so I know when I bring this over, that's about where the fabric will end. I'm going to go ahead and glue. And get it all over again. Make sure I have enough. I want to make sure I get it down there really good. Bring that down. Make sure I'm nice and lined up on the sides. If you get a wrinkle, it doesn't matter. Your stitch piece is going to go on top of that. So you'll see it looks a little wrinkly because I've used hot glue. It doesn't matter. I'm going to check and make sure nothing is sticking out. Look for glue strings. Looks good. This is what it looks like so far. We haven't attached this yet. We're going to do that. You can kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like. Let's go to the next step. When you're looking at this, if you've got an opening like this, like I do, I can see I had glue there, but I didn't push it down before the glue cooled off. You can go ahead and put some more glue on it. Press it down. I'm being careful I don't have the little thing on my hand. It's kind of popping out the side. Yep, there it goes. So I'm going to want to make sure that I pull all those glue strings. That looks better. That's nice and tight. Let's double check this side. Yep, see that? I want to put some more glue right there. Let's go ahead and glue right here. Push that down. That's better. The next step is we're going to attach our tongue to the front. This is where you can determine, again, like, is it going on a narrow shelf and you only have that much space, which if that was the case, you could glue it like that. You could cut the extra off. If you've got a little more space, I'm going to turn it towards me for a minute. You can also figure it out by standing it up. To me, that looks good. Let me go ahead and show that to you. So let's measure this. Let's see how much space I have in between. This is, it's about 3.5 inches from here to here. I like the way that looks. I'm going to set it down. I'm setting it towards me because I'm going to make a mark. I'm going to go ahead and make a mark where the top is. Again, don't worry about making marks. Your piece is going to go on top of this. There's the mark. And I'm going to glue again, and I'm going to bring that up to the mark. Let's go ahead and do that. Looks good. Make sure it's straight. Look for those right angles. And push it down. You're all attached. You can tell it's going to stand up. Double checking, make sure it's straight. Looks good. Our next step is attaching our stitched piece. Now we're going to attach our stitched piece to the flat fold. You can add the glue on the back or the glue to this piece. I'm going to add the glue to this piece just in case. Got a little piece of lint there. Let me grab that. Just want to be careful, a little cautious with my stitched piece. Wouldn't you know it, I'm getting at the end of my glue stick, and I'm going to have to grab another one because I don't think the glue will keep coming out. Yep. Let's grab another glue stick. Now I'm going to go ahead and just run back over my first lines of glue because I had to sit while I grabbed the glue stick. That looks good. Set it down gently. You can feel it. Feel that it's lined up. Press it down. I've got some glue here. I'm going to need to pull off when it cools. Let's see. It's not too bad right now. That won't matter because we're going to add some trim around the edges of this. Looks good. Let's move on to trim. I'm going to be adding some chenille yarn around to cover that crease. You can use, if you wanted to do pom-pom, you could, but I would add that probably before you put your piece on. Or you could add it, actually you could add it like this if you like. You know what? That might even be better. That'll cover the gap. So if you wanted to do a pom-pom, you could glue that on. That looks cute. I was going to try the chenille. This is just chenille I got on Amazon. It's pretty thin. Let's see what it's going to look like. I may end up putting pom-poms on it. That'll sit right there. Wow, you can barely see it. Focus. You can't even get it to focus on it. That's okay. Let's look. There's the chenille. And there's the pom-pom. That really pops, doesn't it? I think I may put pom-pom on it. How about that? I did not think I was going to do that. Let's put this on. Yep. Let's put some pom-poms on. That looks like more fun. I'm going to start at the bottom. And this is going to be gluing. Yeah, that'll work well. Since it's going to set on a shelf when it's done, I'm going to glue at the bottom. I'm going to pull out enough to make sure I can go all the way around. This has some wrapping holding it together. I don't want to unwrap the whole thing. So let's just kind of measure, make sure I've got enough there. I am going to start at the bottom. Now, you can use a fabric glue or the glue gun. I'm going to use the glue gun. It'll get done a little faster. I'm going to start at the bottom. Sorry, I know it's sideways for you, but this I need to have facing me. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to make sure that I cover this gap. This is actually, this space here on this fringe is just about perfect. You can lay it down so the pom-pom sticks out and it'll cover that gap. That's great. Alright, we're going to start at the bottom. I think you can probably hear the canary going. He's having a good day today. We put a little bit here just to get it started. Let's glue that down. And then you can also double check and make sure you like the way it's going to look. Oh yeah, that really frames the piece nicely. Look at that. I really thought I was going to use that yarn. Finally. It's been sitting for a while. But let's go with the palm. It looks better. It makes the piece stand out. Go ahead and put your glue on. And you can feel your piece. Let's see if I can bring it closer. Make sure that you're not gluing the pom-poms under. I need to put that fingertip thing on. This is kind of almost like mesh. It's got some holes. I don't know why it's not focusing. There you go. So as I'm pushing down, the glue is coming through those little holes. Let's protect our little fingers. Okay, I'm going to go all the way around. There's that blob of glue. Not going to matter. It's going to be covered. Here's our finished flat fold from the front with the pom-pom trim. Looks good. Here's what it looks like on the side. You can see your two pieces, your fabric tongue in the middle, and your trim has covered where the other two pieces come together. That's what the bottom looks like. Whoop. The back. That'll look great on display. Love it. Now, if you want to make a flat fold where some of the fabric shows, like this one, you follow the same procedure as this, except you cut one more piece of sticky board right here. So you would do everything the same. You've got your 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces like this one. 1, 2, there's 3 and 4. 4 is the stitched piece. But on this one, your stitched piece is on the front. I did put batting behind this piece, the stitched piece, and there's batting on the back piece, just like there's batting on this one. There you go. You have 2 options for how you can do a flat fold. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Have a great day and happy stitching!